Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I am happy to have back on once again Graham Waldrop of Graham and the Band Upstairs. The band has just put out a truly spectacular album. It's called Turning Magic on Its Heels. Graham, I am so excited to have you on today. How are you doing? What's going on?
Doing great, Austin. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm super tired. We did a house show. We released the album on Friday, 30th, and did a house show yesterday, and it was
Awesome.
just it was awesome. We had three bands open for us. We were there at a friend's house for like I don't know, 14 hours or so, and then we had about 40, 50 people show up. So it was really cool. We wanted to keep it kind of small, and we wanted to sort of do it on our own terms and just have a
Sure.
day of just having fun with music and just getting a bunch of artists to come out and play. And we did some karaoke afterwards, and it was
I
outside.
mean, you have to.
Yeah, had to do some live band karaoke. So it was super fun. We ran our own sound. It was really cool. It was just a great time and a great celebration of music and
Nice.
of us getting out the album. So it was great.
I
So
have to assume that it was a cathartic experience after painstakingly putting a record together.
yeah, I mean, it took a long time. I mean, we've been having these these interviews off and on for the last, I don't know, I guess 3 years now. And yeah, it's taken a long time to get here, but we're happy to have gotten it across the finish line, and we're proud of what we accomplished. So
That's awesome, man. Listen,
yeah.
I've listened to the album through probably two or three times at this point.
Oh wow.
It's spectacular. Like truly, I we're recording this on a Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and I started my morning with it.
Oh
And I
cool.
truly just like it put me in a good mood, but it put me in a mood that just like I don't know. I found that this record feels extremely multifaceted, where it has tons of highs and tons of lows, not necessarily in terms of emotion, but just in the feeling that it gives you.
Hmm.
The instrumentation is so varied. You create these beautiful instrumental moments that just stick out. I don't know. It really does give you that album experience, which I know that you've given in the past, but this one just feels like a warm hug, if I
Oh
had
cool.
to just kind of like describe it. Before we get into like the meaning and the influence and this
Hmm.
and that, I just want to know like how did you approach this record from a creation standpoint as opposed to the rest?
Yeah, it was really important to me for this album for every song to stand on its own.
Yeah,
I was really inspired by the last studio album Bob Dylan did, Rough and Rowdy Ways
yeah,
in 2020. And the thing that struck me the most about that record was every song stood on its own. Every song had its own kind of vibe and instrumentation. Nothing like ran together. Every song had its
sure, sure.
full sonic identity. And that was something I really wanted to do. And that's really when I started learning how to play guitar and really getting into wanting to like play music and stuff. I was like, if I'm going to write these songs, every song has to be different. Every song has to be different from a lyrical standpoint, a musical standpoint, even if we're using a lot of the same musicians. That's why we also wanted to bring in guest musicians like
Sure.
the Little Strong, who plays a violin on two of the songs, and our friend Ian McKenzie, who plays organ on Enough to Lose. We just wanted to keep things really really varied and diverse musically, and that was like a big thing for me when approaching the record.
Nice. Was that different in terms of recording in the past with guest musicians?
It was always fun, so they're on three songs, so it was cool because they were to bring their own sort of creativity to it. So Carly, who goes by the Little Strong, and I want to promote her for a second. She's got a Kickstarter out. If you look for the Little
Sweet.
Strong on Kickstarter, she's an amazing instrumentalist. She played at our house show yesterday. She can play guitar, piano, violin. She's fantastic, and she's got an amazing voice. She's got like Laura Marling vibes, Joni Mitchell vibes.
Awesome.
She's incredible. But like coming into it with her, like she's a professional musician. She's been playing music since she was 4. She teaches kids how to play music. She's been putting out music for a long time. And so approaching it with her, I was sort of like at her mercy in a way. I was just like, this is the vibe, this is what we're trying to do. And then we talk about it a little bit, and then she just come out and just play these amazing. She just would just the violin was almost like smoke was coming off of it, fire was
Yeah,
coming off of it. It was
man.
just incredible. She once she understands what you want, and you don't even have to give her that much information. She just tears it up. And so like
That's
it
the
was a
best
great
kind of
collaboration.
collaboration. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the best kind.
like when we recorded Carrie, we maybe practiced it a couple of times, like 2 or 3 months before we recorded, and then like we were gonna go record And I was like, Carly, do you want to come like practice with us? We're going to rehearse. She's like, oh no, I'll be fine. I'll just show up and we'll do it. And she just comes in and just knocks it out. She's incredible. And then like,
Yes.
working with like Ian, who played organ on Enough to Lose, was really cool too. He played in another band with Jeff, our lead guitarist. And so we knew him from those days. And that was really fun too. He brought a lot to that song. He makes that song come to life with the organ. And we tried to play that song live last month, and he wasn't available, and just didn't work. And it's like,
Yeah.
so you're able to bring in these people that you normally don't work with on a day-to-day basis, like the rest of the band. They're able to bring so much creativity and just take the songs to the next level. So
That's amazing. Having those people in your community and sort of like arsenal to come and record is such a special thing.
it
I
is,
love
yeah.
that. You mentioned the Bob Dylan record and each
Hmm.
song having its own sonic identity. I absolutely feel that in this record, but I can't help but also feel that the album flows. I
Hmm.
know that it's really special and it's also really difficult to have a record where each song stands out and each one could be treated as a single. I know that potentially felt like the goal here, but the album experience still flows from start to finish.
Hmm.
How do you sort of balance that all while track listing?
Yeah, it was. So that was interesting how that kind of developed and the way the songs developed. Like a lot of the
Yeah,
songs, like I don't know, when I first did these demos, it was just me. I didn't know how to sing. I didn't really know how to play yet, but I was really trying to like make it different on my own. But then when you get the rest of the band and they bring their creativity to it, that takes it to another level. But it was just, I don't know, it was weird kind of getting into that and thinking about, all right, as these songs evolve, what's the order? How's it going to work?
yeah,
And it was one of those things where I was like, like I always thought of Another Request, which was the first song on the album. I was like, I want that to be first. I don't know. I just
sure.
feel like that's a tone setter. And then it's like, well, there's some songs you can really like get into and vibe to. Some are more contemplative and whatnot. And it was just sort of just feeling it out and trying to mix and match the track list together. Like, we've had these songs, been working on them for so long.
Yeah,
I would spend a lot of time just like playing them in different order, and as many orders as possible to try and get the right vibe for it. And eventually, I
sure.
think what we settled on was really good. And the band obviously had input on that as well. But I spent a ton of time, way too much time, just being like, all right, how does it flow? What is the best way to make these songs flow? And I hope that we accomplished a really good pace for the record.
No, I fully agree with that. I think it's so much fun to track list a record. Like I've even gone back to some of my favorite records of all time and been like,
Hmm.
oh, I might take track six and put it in the front half
Hmm.
because maybe it sets the tone of the energy. And it's such an underthought thing for artists nowadays, especially like in the single world that we live
Hmm.
in now, where it's like,
Hmm.
here's one song, here's a little bite, what do you think of it? But then when you release the full record, changing things around to kind of keep that balance of energy is such an important thing. And I think that you fully nailed that because the record does kind of go up and down in that way, but it still keeps you hooked with all these little things happening.
Cool. Yeah, no, thank you. That was just so important to me. So I think about it like albums I really enjoy, and it's like, you'll have like a really kind of more upbeat song. You'll have
Yeah.
maybe you have two of those, and then you'll go to a softer song. Then you'll come,
Yes.
it's you're riding this emotional roller coaster, and you're trying to figure out like what is the best way to do that. So
Exactly. No,
because
fully
like if we
nailed
had
it here.
done, yeah, if we had done like Another Request and If He Had Called Her, which are probably two of the more, I wouldn't even say depressing songs, but they're kind of like softer, more
Sure, sure.
contemplative. If we had kicked off the album with those two songs, then it would have been weird. Then it would have been like, okay, now
I agree.
we're sort of dragging our feet here, kind of. But
Exactly. Well,
yeah, so
I mean, yeah, everyone's got an attention disorder, deficit disorder at this
mhm.
point. You have such a little time to really capture someone's attention to be like, do you want to listen to the next song? Did you like the first one?
Right, and that's another thing too. It's just like we're so spoiled in this era of streaming and whatnot, where we can make
Exactly.
playlists and just put it on shuffle.
Yeah.
And we're not really thinking about the structure of it. Some people do, obviously,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a huge playlist of like I don't know 10,000 songs, and
Same.
it's all like in a certain genre. But I'll just hit shuffle and go about my day, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
coming back to it and be like, all right, I gotta have this sort of old school focus here was cool
Exactly.
to
It's
figure out.
important stuff.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the album title as well, Turning
Hmm.
Magic on Its Heels.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. What
Like,
is that? That's something even Jeff and
because
I
I
were talking
love the
about.
name, but
Yeah.
I've thought about it. I'm like, what
Hmm.
What is it?
That's something that Jeff and I were talking about a lot. He's like, "What does this mean?" And who's I mentioned who's our lead guitar player, and
Sure, sure.
it's a lyric from one of the songs, Another Request, and it just sort of came to me one day, and so the idea behind it, and it sort of became a thematic sort of item for the entire record, and also it became thematic for making of the record. And to me, it stands or it means to try to accomplish the impossible, to do some Herculean task, and you're setting out to do it, and it's a journey. And you might succeed, you might fail, but you're setting out to do it. So to me, to turn magic on its heels is to try and do the impossible. And maybe that's for our record, maybe it wasn't the impossible because we did it, but it was one of those things where it's just like it took so long to do it. We spent so much time doing it. It was like, man, it's this star in the distance that we're trying to get to, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
But that's sort of what it means to me is trying to do something that's really, really tough. And all the characters in these songs, they're all telling stories. It's like some of them fail, some of them succeed. Some of them are able to let go with past trauma, some of them are not. It's just one of those things where it's like everybody's kind of on their journey. So it's sort of like a weird metaphor for life and trying to strive to do something and just seeing where you wind up.
I'm happy you bring that up about the individual songs because
Hmm.
whenever I'm listening, that's why I try to give an album two listens. One for sort
Hmm.
of the instrumentation, one to try to connect the dots within the lyrics.
Hmm.
It sounds like the substance of these songs absolutely have to do with the album title and what it represents.
Yeah.
But at the same time, would you label this as almost a concept record in terms of a story arc?
I would say no. I would say conceptually there's that through line of the turning magic on its heels kind of meaning, but in terms of like the stories being connected individually or telling like an overall narrative, no, I would not say that.
Okay. Okay.
Um, if we get to do this next thing that we're sort of kicking around, then that will be a real concept album, kind of
Okay,
like
cool.
Pink Floyd kind of vibes, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here
Ooh.
sort of thing. So yeah,
Sound
hopefully we'll be able
sound
to do it
wise or
someday.
lyrically?
Lyrically, sound wise, it still needs a lot of love. We have one song really figured
Sure.
out, but the rest of it is it's going to take some time. We've been so focused on playing out some more and just finishing the album. We didn't really finish it until recording and engineering and everything until November. Then we had to
Okay.
figure out the cover, the cover artwork, and then when we were going to release it. And we wanted to do something special like this house show. So it was just trying to wrangle all these schedules. So now, hopefully after a little break here, we can get back to figuring out these other songs, or maybe we'll come up with something different. And it's interesting. Like I wrote these songs, started in 2019, finished kind of like writing them in I guess 21, and then they kept developing and iterating. And then while that was going on, I was writing these new songs that don't exist yet. And so that was such a different point in my life at this point. I'm like, well, maybe I don't know if I connect with the new music as well as as well as I used to. So we don't know exactly what we're gonna do next, but
It's
yeah,
okay. Relish in the completion of this
exactly,
record, and
exactly,
then you
yeah.
focus. I do think what you're saying kind of brings up an interesting point. You cite your influences on this record as like Bob Dylan and Neil Young,
Hmm.
which are
Hmm.
two incredible artists, of course, and then a potential new record of Pink Floyd. Do you find that the music you make is always by the influences or I guess of people that you're listening to at the moment, or is it just kind of like societal figures of people you admire?
I'd say it's more the latter.
Okay.
Honestly, it's people I admire, like Pink Floyd, or excuse me, Bob Dylan, Neil Young were huge on this for me. I wanted to make
Yeah.
something kind of in that tradition of music that has sort of shaped my musical outlook. And Pink Floyd's also a big part of that, but they didn't really fit for this one for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Um, so those people were huge. And then even like contemporary folks, I think I mentioned her before. Alexa Woodward is one
Sure,
of my
sure.
favorite songwriters of this century. She's not really making music as much regularly, but she was a huge, huge, huge influence on this album. Amazing banjo player, singer songwriter. So yeah, yeah, it's definitely more the people that have like really shaped the music that I really love, and that I feel like I can take those influences and make my own thing out of it. So Pink Floyd will be, and probably like Grateful Dead will be the next challenge. But
Awesome.
yeah.
That's funny because you say you have a playlist of 10,000 songs, and I'm like, there's
Hmm.
probably a lot of different artists on there that
There
are
are. They're all.
coming
It's all
through in
over
the
the place.
sound. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So um In terms of the actual, writing of this record, I know that
Hmm.
we've slightly talked about this in the past of the structures and the blueprints of making these songs. It
Hmm.
sounds like, are you the sole songwriter?
I'm a sole lyricist,
Okay,
and
got it.
I'd say like I think three, I guess four of the songs I think is just me. Um, and then the rest of it's a collaboration between the band members. So like in terms of music, so like on Kiss the River, for example, the third song, a lot of the sort of in between instrumental, in between the verse and the chorus, or
Sure.
excuse me, the chorus going into the next verse, like Jeff came up with that himself. The Oak was a collaboration between all of us. I don't even know who did what on that anymore. It was all, I kind of came up with the initial chord structure, and then I think Jeff did the bridge, and everybody kind of just collaborated more and more and more to the point where it was like, it was beyond just saying, like, okay, just fill in, this is the structure, just fill it in. It was like everybody was like, that song is the longest song in the album, and it took the longest to figure out. So, it sort of just depends, but yeah, like lyrically, it's me with I get feedback, but I'm writing all this stuff, and then the music sometimes will be just me, or it'll be a big collaboration. So
Nice. I mean, is it always, I mean, not necessarily you, but do other people throw in their ideas for, um, like ideas for songs in terms of content, life, whatever's going on, current events?
uh, not necessarily as much. I mean, so there's a song Veronica who does the this some of the or a lot of the vocals with me on the record. We're kind of working on a song that sort of was a germ in her mind for a while. That is sort of more based on current events and stuff like that. But that it hasn't really come up with this with these songs. These songs feel like they're from kind of a bygone era, I would say.
Okay. Oh, I would
But
agree
yeah,
fully.
yeah. But I would say too, it's just like it is amazing when you're just you're coming up with you know these melodies and things like that, and then when you get a full band, how it just changes so much. Maybe not in terms of like you're changing keys or anything like that, but the band adds so much texture to what you originally envisioned, even if it doesn't really change that much from the original idea in terms of like the structure, but like just the life and the way they play. Like the way Joseph
Absolutely.
plays the bass is amazing throughout the record. Zach on the drums, just his percussion's incredible. Jeff it plays on every song, and his guitar work is just. I'm always in awe of what he does. And Veronica's a great singer, and she brought so many ideas to how we should um, sing these songs. And so
Right.
it was really just a big collaboration, like I mentioned on some of the other interviews. Like we've been friends, all of us, for a decade plus,
Awesome.
sometimes 2 decades with some of the folks in the band. So it's really great that we can be that open and just collaborate the way we do. So and I'm really glad you've enjoyed the album, but so much credit goes to the band. Like they're amazing.
Of course. No, I know that it's not just you. And I think everything you're saying brings up this other point. It's like you have so many individuals and people throwing in their musicianship and craftsmanship into the ring, especially across a whole record. Was there a specific song that was maybe the most painstaking to put together or finish?
Yeah, definitely the oak. The oak was a huge pain in the butt. It
Okay.
was long. We didn't know how to start it. That intro at the beginning, that sort of slow intro took forever to figure out. How to sing it that was really hard for Veronica and I to figure out how to sing it. It also started, that actually was one of the few songs that in the demo, it sounded like some lullaby, sleep along. I was like lullaby sort of
Yeah, yeah,
song,
yeah.
like you'd hear on Barney or something. And then it turned into and then I was like, I don't really like this, and I turned it into something else that was a little more hard hitting. And then we had to figure out, yeah, how to sing it, how Jeff was playing guitar on it, what the bass was going to be, how intense the drums were going to be. Like there are versions that we've recorded just in practice that are just so different. They're slower, they're
Sure.
faster. The way we're playing, like that was the one that I mean, I remember a couple years ago in May, like we spent like I think it was like 8 or 9 straight hours just like working on that, and
Jeez.
we still didn't feel like it was working, but eventually we got it. But that song took a long time. That was probably the song that took the longest to figure out.
Well, okay, so for everyone listening or watching, that's a song to pay special attention
Yeah,
to.
I think
Now I'm
that's
going to
my
go back
yeah
and listen and be like, oh yeah, I can hear all
yeah.
the everything. Yeah, exactly. We we're just about the halfway point of this year. What does the rest of the year look like for the band? Like shows, this and that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Summer's always a little challenging, just people going out of town and stuff. So I
Yeah, of
think like
course.
we're probably gonna we'll probably and we just did this huge house show and got the album out.
Exactly.
So I think we're gonna have a little break here and then hopefully we'll get back together and start to figure out what we want to do. I think we probably want to record this new song that we figured out from the newer album I was mentioning.
Sweet.
That's probably going to be next on the docket. We feel really locked in and tight on that one. So we'll see where it goes from there. But there's no like defined plans right now. I think we need to get a lot more new material. We've been playing these songs since 2021
Yeah.
out, and we'll mix stuff up. And like I said, we worked on this new song, so that's cool. But we need to have some more new songs. We need to figure out some more stuff, I think, before we go back out and play live and whatnot. Because I think, the idea yesterday was like we're kind of putting a lot of this material to bed. It's not like we can never play it again, but we need to challenge ourselves to, have some new material.
Yeah,
And I think,
exactly. It's how you
yeah,
grow as a band and
yeah, and
continue
we
to
don't want
get
it
the
to get
word
too
out and this and
stale.
that.
Yeah, we don't want
Right.
things to get stale. So
Yeah, you don't want the performances to feel like a job. You know what I'm saying? You want to get up there and be like, listen, we're playing music and we're having a good time. And
yeah,
even though we might have heard this song 10,000 times,
yeah,
like just want to, get up there and have fun with it.
for sure.
Absolutely. Well, listen, my last thing for you here is basically I'm going to urge people to listen to the record, but is there anything, I guess, else important that you think they should know before they listen?
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot of um, and I think we covered most of it already, but I appreciate anyone who does listen to the album. Even if you don't like it, like that's fine. Like I just appreciate you, there's so many things that come out and I'm always I'm trying to get in a better habit of like not listening it. I mean, I still want to listen to music like I love and whatnot. I
Yeah.
want to discover new stuff and I'm trying to just like your playlist is great because you're always putting people on there that are making music that are not huge mega stars or anything like that
Yeah.
or like household names and just discovering all this new material is always great, so I appreciate what you do. And
Appreciate it.
so I think it's really just I think it's one of those things where if you love this Americana folk kind of material and you like music from a from that 60s 70s time period, I think you'll find something you really enjoy here. And also I think if you like uh live music. We've tried to make this whole record from an engineering standpoint, and shout out to Max Unruh at Castle Hill Studios who engineered the whole record. My instruction to him was make it sound like we're in the room. Like as a
Yes.
listener, we're in the room with the band. I mean, you can hear like, and another request, you hear me shifting around in the chair. Like I didn't mean to do that, but it kind of adds this sort of raw element
I
to the,
love that in the
yeah,
music. When things feel overproduced and they've taken away like the human feeling from
uh-huh,
it,
yeah,
then like I don't know, then if you're making like mainstream radio pop music, sure, every single moment needs to be crisp and clean, but this type of
yeah.
music and the genre and the sound, it just needs to feel human. So leaving that kind of stuff in, like it's a thought that goes in your head, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things where I was like, I kept telling him it's like we need to have things be really,
Yeah.
as dry as possible. But like it's interesting too. Like there's sometimes like on Carrie where it's like it has this kind of spooky flavor. It's a great like Halloween song to me. And
Yeah.
it's like I was like, all right, let's distort Veronica's vocals. Let's add a little reverb to me more than usual. It's like we got a little weirder vocally on that song, but still like the music on that track. I just
Right,
think
right.
I think the band that's the best song that I don't even play on that song. I just sing on it, but that's like the best I think they song in terms of like what the band did on that. Like it is just
Awesome.
and Carly playing on the violin too, it just blows my mind every
Yeah.
time I hear it. I'm like, God, you guys are just so fantastic. So it's
Super
like, but it
talented.
just feels like you're there. And
Yeah.
that was the biggest feeling. So if you like music where you feel like you're there, I think you'll find something that you really enjoy. And if you like stories and music and also I think another thing too is just interpretation, right? Like
Yeah.
I think everyone hopefully can take away something from all of these songs that's different from what, you know, anyone else might take away from it. Someone else is going to take something different than you're going to take away from it. And it's not literal music. It's really it's trying to be like you can find multiple interpretations based off your own life experiences. That was a big thing from a writing standpoint of being like, all right, I'm going to bring my experience to this song, but the listeners could be totally different. And I think that's a really cool aspect of it. And sometimes people, friends have told me, it's like, well, what does this mean? I'm like, well, just, use your head and just think about it. What
Right.
does it mean to you? It
Exactly.
doesn't matter what it means to me. It's you're the listener. Like and I hope it's not too vague, but it's one of
Well,
those
no,
things
but
where
the
it's like, you know,
the
mhm.
vagueness allows people to connect their own dots.
Right.
If
And that
you're
was
saying
the
like,
purpose. Yeah.
this is a love story I was broken up with, and things are, that's it. But if you keep things not necessarily under wraps, but just
Hmm.
like open to interpretation, then it really invites people to listen to what you're saying and, make their own message, which I think is so important in all of music.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things too, where it's like, when the music change, like especially like when we do Kiss the River, where there's just kind of like half of it is, or the verses are kind of like, you know, it sounds kind of sweet and
Yeah,
and just sort of laid back, and the chorus is angry and kind of violent in a way. And it's like there's this shift in emotion. And I'm hoping that the listener will be like, why is that happening? Let me dive into these
right.
lyrics and really try to figure it out. And why is it like that in the verse? And then why is it like this in the chorus? And then hopefully they can come to
Absolutely.
some cool interpretation. So yeah.
Love that. Listen, Graham, I want to thank you like so much again for taking the time. It's fun getting to talk to you because you really care for your music. Not to say that others don't, but just like getting into the nitty-gritty of everything and you having answers it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, thanks, Austin. I
You're
always love
very
coming on
welcome.
and
Love
chatting with
it.
you.
For everyone else out there who doesn't know, the band is called Graham and the Band Upstairs. The record is called Turning Magic on Its Heels. As always, we will have the links everywhere so you can listen and share and follow along. Obviously, stay tuned for more. I know you're a person that never stops creatively, so I can always
Yeah.
bet on something being in the works. And truly, man, thank you so much again. It really means a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you, Austin. Always, like I said, love talking to you every time, and keep up the great work. Always
Thank
love
you.
checking
You
out
as
your
well,
channel.
man. You
Yeah.
as well. All right. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I hope to speak soon.
Yeah. See ya.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.